I believe every single person watching this video right now is waiting for the next altcoin season. And I mean, just taking a look at XRP, we've been at a worse and worse position over the past couple of years, but well, things should be turning around rather soon. And I base that mostly just on the fundamentals of, you could say, the XRP ledger, how fast and massively they are expanding, but also because it's the right time. We've said before that altcoins do significantly better after Bitcoin has gone on a rise first. And since it seems that Grayscale has now stopped selling, or at least their outflows of Bitcoin are so significantly low, to me what that signals is Bitcoin is gonna ascend. And I mean, very often the opposite of what you expect happens, meaning, oh, Grayscale has stopped selling, so they're going to manipulate the price downward. But over a prolonged period of time, I believe that this narrative, the fact that these funds are not really trying to get out anymore, and that other ETFs like the Ethereum, like the XRP, like the Solana will be coming at some point, is going to be so powerful. Please just take into consideration that BlackRock is coming for your Bitcoin. Right now, they've only got a few $1 billion worth. Really not that much. To be a little bit more specific, I believe that about 3% of all the Bitcoin already is now within ETFs. And I think that number is only going to keep getting greater. And you've got to understand what that means for altcoins too. Specifically the ones that have a cap. You know, some altcoins don't. Is that they'll become more and more scarce as they'll be less free to trade on the open market because these major asset managers will just hoard it and people can trade it internally, but they'll be hoarding it regardless. And to be a little bit more on point with it, some additional interesting information. The SEC, this is following Standard Chartered banks and analysts, is likely going to approve the Ethereum spot ETFs on May 23rd. So our philosophy is buy right now, sell in May, and then buy after the dip, because that would have worked really well for Bitcoin. And we did that, and we publicly did that, and we'll repeat the system again. On the XRP forefront, I keep telling you guys, they're making such big steps. And it's actually quite wonderful that not that many people are talking about this right now. But in the reality, all these announcements are not really doing much for the price, but they've been working. And that's why I sometimes find it so interesting how the XRP chart is looking. The fact that it's just been downhill, even though they've made so much progression, smells to me like manipulation or just disinterest from the price not moving as much as people expect. So I'd say disappointment, but all of it could pretty easily, I think, be fixed after just one excitement wave again. I mean, the community is still pretty strong, and I think the majority of people are here for the long term anyway, to which extent a lot of this rumbling, all this short-term stuff doesn't really matter too much. But if we are talking serious about, hey, which things will perform best the bull run, I personally think XRP has got a lot of potential, but it needs to catch on, and it's having a hard time doing so. Then again, they're always late, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're late again, but I just know that they're building a lot in the background. So it's quite interesting that this lawsuit potentially, that's not over, is still dragging them down, because we also know the ETFs are coming, etc. Anyway, it's not so noticeable anymore, but Cardano had a really beautiful day today. It was up roughly, I think, 8 or 9%. You can see it went from about 50 cents to roughly 54 cents. And actually throughout the week here has gone from 46 cents to 52 cents. So up a lot, about 11 at the peak, roughly 13.5% or so. Then again, still on the month we are down, but we are seeing a lot of pumps again. And no guys, altcoin season fully has not started yet. These numbers are still way too low, but we're going in the right direction. I will warn you for one thing though. Don't think that just because Bitcoin recovered just now, that no further dips are possible. We've stated before that in bull markets, very often you see a roughly 31% correction before breaking that high. Right now, Bitcoin went to roughly 48.6, I think, $1,000. Pullback that we would consider to be sufficient would be to roughly 33,000. We didn't do that, and so as of this point, things are a little bit wobbly. Again, personally, I've got my DCA bots set in place to make sure we catch up on these dips because I don't see prices going that much lower. And we know the medium outlook is pretty bullish with the Bitcoin halving coming up in less than 3 months, and the major institutions now stopping the massive selling pressure. And of course, the S&P is going up like crazy. but. And before we move on, I want to quickly talk about our partner for today's video that is called Dynex. And guys, when I tell you it's a cool project, it's a cool project. Take a look. I've already told you multiple times in the past that every single cycle I focus on certain narratives in the crypto market as to which coins I buy. Part of it is only because of momentum, and part of it is based mostly on value. Now, if you take a look at the bio right here, Dynex is a next generation platform for neuromorphic computing based on groundbreaking flexible blockchain protocol. It consists of participating proof of useful work miners that constitute a decentralized neuromorphic supercomputing network, which is capable of performing computations at unprecedented speed and efficiency, even exceeding quantum computing, which is just absolute madness. And honestly, I don't know if it's the best comparison, but I kind of feel as if it could have a similar sort of vibe, performance, and feel as what happened to Render. And you can see just how crazy the price of that one has performed. It's top 50. And again, I'd say following the base of it, it's pretty much as good. Of course, take into consideration my bias, but I personally think it's a very, very solid and juicy project because the idea is to basically give everybody access to supercomputers. Now, if you head over to the website, you will also find that they've got a marketplace, and I would call that the centerpiece of this entire project because there is where it allows you to earn. It basically has a lot of cool features when it comes to, I'd say, transacting in jobs, as you can see here from the right. The total amount of jobs done, the total amount of jobs this month, and basically how long it took. Again, the exchange of all this supercomputing. And honestly, guys, my personal opinion, partnership here aside, is that I think it's pretty undervalued from what they've got. But very often with projects like this, it's just about how much traction can they get. The concept, amazing. Has it got potential for very high placements? Again, if we take a look at Render, coins of that sort. I mean, just take a look at this whole deep in sector. It's pretty freaking huge. So that's all I'll say about it. Thank you for partnering up on this video, and let's move on. And now to continue on with that story. You thought that the S&P would only keep printing higher, right? Well, today has actually not been that good of a day. And I'm warning you guys right now, just take a look at some of these headlines. JP Morgan quants warn of a .com style concentration in US stocks. Shares of the top 10 stocks are nearing historical 2000 peak. Strategists warn of a pullback led by top US equities. And at the same time, biased but A16Z's Chris Dixon believes crypto will unseat the Magnificent Seven. And that's basically backed up by things in the background like Bitcoin overtaking silver as the second largest ETF commodity. And I think you guys have been seeing all the major headlines recently. Evergrande ordered to liquidate. So what's next for the world's most indebted developer and its founder? A Hong Kong court on Monday, this morning, ordered Evergrande to be wound up after more than 2 years since defaulting on its debts, marking another grim milestone for 𝗕𝗓𝗓, once Asia's richest person. And that marks another interesting question. What's going to happen to the US as this debt just keeps piling up more and more and more? Then again, I've already stated this, but tomorrow we'll be live streaming the federal interest rate, the FED interest rate decision coming out at about 11 p.m. Dubai time. Just calculate for yourself what that would be and stick around on the channel because it's usually quite interesting. In this case here, we are going from 5.5 nowhere, right? Back and staying at 5.5. However, if we change from that number, I'm expecting some crazy volatility to come along, and I think a lot of you guys will be very much entertained. If you're wondering about Grayscale, right now they've got $21.7 billion worth of Bitcoin, $29 billion worth of assets, and 3 hours ago they sent a pretty huge chunk of Bitcoin away yet again. But interestingly enough, this is what their monthly chart looks like. Long story short, bull market poised. Tomorrow, important day. And some crazy stuff could happen over the next few weeks, with a few months being in extremely bullish territory, with the halving coming up, and with all the signs showing that the selling is stopping and that massive amounts of money will flow towards the crypto sector. And we're already making good paces at that. Altcoin season is going to flow in pretty quickly afterwards. Some signs are already there that people are excited to look for further options besides Bitcoin, like for example, the ETF providers. XRP as of this point is still very much undervalued. So I'm excited. Hopefully you are too.